Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Let's Play Pokemon Blue. Now, in the previous episode, we spent most of the time increasing the size of our team. We caught a few additional Pokemon that will come in handy down the road. And since that episode, as you can see, I spent a little bit of time leveling them. I got each of them up to level 11, because I figured that would be, it's not too high, but it's also not too low either. And the reason why I spent a bit of time leveling off screen is because today, in this episode, we will be fighting the first gym leader. So, yeah, I figured it was a good time to buff up our Pokemon a little bit. So, but also in this episode, since I've pretty much explained about all the Pokemon in the forest, in the previous episode, I gave brief descriptions and explanations about each one and stuff. But yeah, since I've already done that, I am going to use this opportunity to talk. And since we're probably going to be interrupted a lot by battles, I'm actually probably going to leave all the wild Pokemon battles and trainer battles that I run into in the forest in the video, because then, I'm just going to be cutting it out, and yeah, I don't want to do that. So I'm going to be leaving all this unedited. So that will give us an opportunity to talk a little bit, because up to this point, we haven't had that opportunity. Been pretty busy. But the first topic I'd like to cover is if you have any issues reading any of the text or seeing any of the icons, just increase the quality of the video. I record each of my videos in 720p, which is considered HD, high quality, high definition. So if you have any trouble reading the text or seeing any icons, just switch the quality to 720p. And that should solve the problem. Also, another thing I wanted to discuss is, since the previous episode, I've had YouTube pretty much revoke my 15-minute time limit. And I know that's not really a big deal, it's not really a big accomplishment. Pretty much every serious YouTuber has had that happen, But it was pretty encouraging, because, it's just, it feels like we're making progress, regardless of how little the progress may be. But now I do have the ability to upload longer videos. I will still be keeping to the 15-20 minute time limit though, just because I am still starting out, and I'm not entirely sure, how long you guys can stand listening to me before you want to go kill yourselves. So I am going to still try to keep the videos relatively short until I get a little more comfortable with this whole process. And then I will probably start increasing the length. Unless on the rare occasion I decide to go on a 3-hour rant on my political views of society or whatever. So yeah, there's also that. So that's cool. Another thing I wanted to discuss is why I'm playing Pokemon Blue. Whereas, if I were to play Leafy Green or Fire Red, I may get more views or more popularity, because people are probably more likely, to want to watch those kinds of videos. The remakes with all the fancy graphics and stuff. So, but the reason why I'm not playing those games, and I chose to stick with Pokemon Blue, is because Pokemon Blue was actually the very first video game that I ever really, like the first mainstream video game that I ever really owned. I think there's a Pokeball down here, yep. And so kind of the backstory about that is, when I was younger, when it kind of first came out and it was first becoming popular in Canada, or just North America in general, my mom actually entered a contest and won a pocket, like the Game Boy Pocket Edition. And along with the Game Boy Pocket, it also came with the Game Boy camera and the Game Boy printer accessories. And since we weren't really into that, I was still pretty young, and that wasn't, I didn't really, both, me and my siblings, or my siblings and I, didn't view that as, very entertaining. So we ended up selling the camera and printer, and using that money to purchase one or two Game Boy games, one of them being Pokemon Blue. Now back then, it was pretty much because, I was still pretty young, so it was mostly my dad basically making the call on which games we got and stuff like that, because, I wasn't really into video games. I would play, computer games because that's really all we had. Things like Sim Ant and Sim Farm and, the Reading Rabbit series, kids games. But other than that, I wasn't really into video games. So he was the one that was kind of making the call on which games we got. And so he chose Pokemon Blue, which is kind of a surprise, looking back, because I don't know, it was a good decision. And my parents, aren't really into video games, so it was just kind of surprising that they would choose a game like this. But so one day, my dad came home from work with Pokemon Blue and a Game Boy Pocket, Pocket Edition. And, like I said, back then I was still pretty young, so I was more interested in watching games than actually playing them myself. So, after getting it, for the next couple days, both my siblings and I would pretty much just watch my dad play through the game. Because, as a kid, whoops, don't want to heal again. As a kid, your motor skills and hand-eye coordination aren't really developed, so you're not really good at video games. And that can be pretty discouraging. So we prefer to just watch, which is kind of interesting because, now, years later, I'm into watching Let's Plays and doing Let's Plays. So, I don't know, that's kind of interesting. But here we are in Pewter City, and this is the first gym. It's Brock, the Rock-type gym leader, and he will give us the Boulder Badge. But before we do that, we are going to fight one of his trainer friends, pre-gym leader battles. I don't know what these fights are called. They're just trainers that you fight before the gym leader. But, yeah, just back to the story. And actually, we do not want to use Pikachu in these battles because, Electric is not that great against Earth and Ground type Pokemon. But back to the story. Yeah, so Pokemon Blue was pretty much the very first video game where I was introduced into basically the mainstream side of gaming. The whole Nintendo consoles and handheld, and just all those new revolutionary stuff that was going on at that time. And so that's pretty much why I chose to do Pokemon Blue, because it's basically a milestone in my gaming history. And I just don't feel the same connection for the newer Pokemon games. I also started playing Pokemon Yellow a few years later, and I still love that game very much, but it's just, it wasn't the first game. So that's why I chose to go with Pokemon Blue. Even though the more popular choice, or more, what is the word? More realistic, or I don't know. Whereas, the better choice may have been, one of the remakes. But, yeah, so that's kind of a long-winded explanation of why I'm playing Pokemon Blue. And, a few years later, we got the N64, and that once again completely revolutionized my my views on video games, and the whole 3D aspect just blew my mind. But once we start playing through those games, I will kind of get into more detail on that. because right now I don't want to spoil too much. But yeah, so this battle isn't going as well as I would like. Squirtle's almost dead, and we actually might have to take a break and go heal up before we actually fight the gym leader. This isn't fun. Yeah. Oh, there we go. Luckily, the gym leader only has 2 Pokemon, so he's actually not that hard. It's just a matter of getting a Pokemon that's good against ground type, Earth type, which is pretty much Squirtle. I mean, that's really the only option up to this point, because I mean everything else is, you know, normal or flying or bug type Pokemon or electric. But that's, you know, not very good, not very wise decisions against an Earth type gym leader. But yeah, so we're just gonna do quick heal up before we go against Brock. But hopefully Squirtle will be up to the challenge. And another thing that I should probably explain is a reason why I got into Let's Playing to begin with is because I'm kind of dyslexic, if you haven't already realized. And I just kind of figured, you know, doing something like this that involves a lot of talking and stuff like that, I just figured that, you know, maybe that might help with that a little bit. So we'll see how that works out. But I just figured I'll explain, you know, why I may stutter or have trouble, you know, putting together sentences or coming up with the right words. So, you know, a little apology in advance if that's annoying or anything. But, you know, if that's the case, you do not have to watch. You can go watch, you know, some of the other more professional Let's Players, or come back to my channel in a month or two when I may be a little more comfortable with this kind of setup. So, but I hope you do stick around, because I have a lot of cool stuff planned down the road, so you would be missing out. But yeah, so this is Brock. He has a Geodude and a Onix. Spoilers. But yeah, he shouldn't be that hard to take on, especially with my choice as Squirtle as a starter Pokemon. And acquiring us getting Bubble, which is pretty much the first water type move that we have access to at this point. So we should be able to make short work of this gym leader. And then after that, it's sky's the limit, you know. So nope, actually I do not. I'm gonna stick with Squirtle. But my biggest struggle with playing the Pokemon games is that I always tend to favor one Pokemon, and he always ends up getting like super high levels compared to everyone else. And, you know, then I just end up, you know, never using the weaker Pokemon and just always using one Pokemon. So I'm gonna try to avoid doing that in this playthrough and kind of, you know, spread the battles out a little bit, so that, you know, Squirtle's level 15 and everybody else is level 11, and, you know, I never end up using anyone else. And, you know, so I will try to keep a little bit of diversity in the Pokemon that I use in this playthrough. And so we got the Boulder Badge, and the Technique Flash can now be used at any time, and a ton of money. So there we have that. There we have it. Taught the Pokemon. TM is good only once, so when you use one to teach a new technique, pick the Pokemon carefully. And that's another thing, like, I've never really been a big fan of using things like TMs, and obviously you have to use HMs, I think they're called, because, I mean, you can't go through the game without them. But I've never really been a big fan of TMs, so I apologize if I don't use them very often. but I will be trying to I will try to interpret it, add those in this playthrough, and take full advantage of them. So yeah, so if I rambled on or didn't make any sense whatsoever, but there you have it. We have defeated the Rooting Forest and the Forest Gym Leader. So in the next episode, we will head into Mount Moon. And there's actually a few more Pokemon that I would like to add to our team once we get there. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.